Hi, welcome to the Shelly Studio. Today I am making an ephemera holder that was inspired by Le Café Craft, and if I find that video, I will link it in the description box below because it'll probably be a little bit easier to follow since that's kind of what I followed. But I saw it and I thought this would be an awesome way to create an ephemera holder that would hold a ton of stuff. It doesn't quite hold everything, but I made it really big, really long. So it's an accordion style, and I'm using these file folders that I got at the thrift store. But as I'm cutting them, I'm noticing they're really flimsy. They're not as strong as some other ones that I have. So I decide that I am going to glue them both together. So if you want to make this, you can make it any size you want, but I will tell you the size that I made these is 8, pretty much 8 3/4 by 6 1/4 on the individual pages. And yes, I am gluing 2 together. I wanted them to be stiff, and I felt that they were really floppy. But after attaching everything together and putting pockets on, it might not have needed to be glued together, but at least my pages are sturdy, right? So I'm just taking Elmer's glue and sticking the 2 together, and I'm going to do that to... like I said, I wanted to make this really big, so I did it a lot. I did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, and I don't think I overlapped the side flaps, so I made 10. Is that right? Yep. Glued 10 of these together, and then we're going to hinge them all together. And by hinging, I'm going to use packing tape and tape each one together, and I'm leaving a 1/4 inch gap in between each one where it's just the packing tape, and hopefully that packing tape will hold up. Like, it seems pretty good. It's plastic, because that's where everything bends and folds. Sorry if you're hearing the book. I'm like looking at the book while I'm talking, so it just makes it easier to remember what I did. So I'm lining that up, and I did this part. I mean, I knew what she had done, and I did this part, and then I went and watched her video again, trying to remember exactly, and the way she taped it was much better. She laid the page down, and then she put the tape over the top rather than having the tape sticky side up. So I would probably, if I did this again, I would tape down the first side and then attach it to the second side rather than having the tape facing sticky side up. If that makes sense. I hope it makes sense. I'm trying to make sense. I am not very good at tutoring on YouTube. So here they are all linked together, and I'm using the scraps, and they are going to be the pockets. And I like the contrast, so I'm going to make them the back side of the pocket of the folder that's brown, and just shade around each one of them. It just gives it a little style, right? So I just ink around those, and then I'm going to glue it down, and then I will reinforce it. And she showed this. She glued the pockets down, and then she glued washi tape at the base just as an extra reinforcing thing. And I mean, you could sew that part. I do sew a little bit. You don't see me doing that part, but I do sew the sides of the pockets. Well, you'll see. So we're just, and I just went for it. I did a big pocket, and then it gradually got smaller. The top one is probably too small, too close to the top, but it's there. It holds little teeny things. But, yeah. Then, of course, I'm using my glitter glue. And I'm not bothering to ink the bottom of each of these because washi tape's going to cover that. And I know we're gluing onto the packing tape hinges, but I'm going to sew that with a sewing machine, and hopefully that will keep that from popping apart. My ones I made a long time ago, I used vellum and I just glued, and they're popping apart. So I'm hoping this will hold up a little bit better. It looked really sturdy when I saw La Cafe Craft. I don't know her name, but when I saw her project, it looked pretty sturdy. Now, she only did like 3 pages, but I wanted to hold a ton of ephemera, so that's why I have 10 pages. And you'll see at the end, I'll do a flip through. I don't think it's full when I do the flip through, but one side is filled and the other side is empty. It's all full now. So there, I just run a bead of glue on there and just make sure there's some glue on the pocket side and on the base, just to make sure it's going to hold up. And it's doing good so far. I don't think I make you watch that whole thing. So here's what I've got so far. And I sewed along the edges, along the bottom, so the large pocket is sewn down, and then up the other edge. So that, and I did that on every single one. And now I am making the cover, and when I made my page size, I determined my page size by the book I had that I've used a lot of the inside, so I figured I would use the cover to make this cover. And this is a gel print on some, I can't remember if it was journaling. Yeah, I think it's like a letter. It's a copy of a letter. Anyway, I made copies of it, and that's going to be my outer cover, front and back. I'll make it the same. Because this is an accordion style, so it doesn't matter which side you open, the front or the back, you're going to find some fun stuff in there. And I'm just using watered down glue for this. Now, I used copy paper, so it's a little bit soft and it's a little wavy. But once it dries out, it dried out really smooth. Even though, well, the back side has a couple wrinkles, it looks like. But, yeah, it's pretty smooth. It was wrinkly when I put it on there. I smoothed it as much as I could, but when it dried out, it dried smooth. So it worked okay. I'm just sticking that on. And you shouldn't do it this way. Put the smaller object onto the larger object, not the other way around. Because you'll see when I turn this over that the bottom barely makes it. Like, I did a bad job of lining this up. You'll see. See? barely going to make it around. So yeah, put the book onto the paper so you can see where you're landing. Helpful hint right there. I'm just mitering the corners, and yeah, we're going to cover my edges. I do come up with what I think is a nice looking fix to that issue where it's just barely wrapping around the bottom. And it kind of adds a little style, you'll see. But I just go ahead and wrap it like you would normally do it when you're covering a book. Yeah. I didn't want to waste the paper. I didn't want to do it over again, so we come up with a fix. And it looks good. You'll see. Just trying to make sure that stays up there since it's so short. And just working my way around. Making sure that's nice and tight and smooth. And yeah, I end up with gluey fingers. Another helpful hint would be to have a wet rag nearby so you could get the glue off your fingers. I'm almost out of my watered down mixture. Elmer's glue is fairly runny. I probably could have done it without watering it down, but I really wanted it to like move easily, so that's why I did. I think it moves a little easily. It does make the paper ripple, but it worked. That's all that matters, right? Is that it works in the end. Okay, the last flap needs to go. I decided to make that a little shorter. Refresh it with a little bit of glue. And fold it up. So I do let those sit under weight to try and make sure they stay fairly flat. And there they are. But now you're going to see what I do to fix them. So I decide I still have file folders. I'm just going to put a bottom wrap around. Well, in that way I will know which way is up, right? Since the green is at the bottom, I will realize that's the bottom of the book. I thought that was clever. So I've got these pieces, and I don't remember exactly how long they were. They were the size the strip was left that was available. I would say they're probably about 4 inches wide, and then maybe 8.5 inches long, so that they'd comfortably wrap around. I'm scoring the bottom. Do I do it at 1 inch? I think I do it at around 1 inch. I score the bottom so that it will fold over easy when I'm gluing it. May or may not have needed to do this, but I did it anyway. It made for a nice straight edge at the bottom. So now I'm going to mark the sides so I know where to put my glue. And this time I am just using the glitter glue. And just going to fill that area where it will touch the book cover. And this is stiffer paper, so I feel like it needs something stronger than the Elmer's. Something that's going to grab sooner. And this is thicker paper, so you're not going to see the ripples from the glue. Where the copy paper, if I'd have used stiffer glue, you would have seen all the ridges. So we got that on there, and now I'm going to make sure all my edges can fold before applying the glue and everything. It kind of helps if you pre-fold. That way you're not trying to do that with glue all over the place. And then again, I think I miter the corners. Just leaving enough space so that it will cover the thickness of the book. And this time I am starting with the bottom, so that it'll be even on both sides. I don't know. Felt like the right thing to do. And that covers up that little skinny spot on the one that I did. And yeah. So there's no worries about it coming undone, because it's got this nice file folder covering it. I do push the sides down with my bone folder. Make sure that the little corner is tucked in. There we go. And how's everyone today? I hope you're all doing well. Hope life is going good for you. Hope you're being creative in whatever you endeavor to do. See, doesn't that look nice? It looks nice, right? And all because I made a mistake on the cover. So there I have the two. So I have the two, and then I have my accordion fold. So I have 5 centerpieces. I also glued on single layer of the file folder on the front and back as a way to connect them to the cover. Hopefully that makes sense. I don't know what that's called. The inside cover, I guess. So this is the hard part. I think this is the hard part. Because I've got this whole stack of pages and I want to line it up so it's centered on the cover. It is not centered, but it's good. It's close. It's good enough, but it's not. It doesn't end up centered. And the packing tape hinges actually kind of help make it fit inside. Anyway, so here I am trying to line it up. I get it a little more to one side than the other. You can kind of tell. But as long as it's smaller than the outside cover, you should be fine. And then I've got to do it to both sides. Here I'm just adding, there's a few areas that didn't quite seem glued enough, so I added a little bit of glue. And then we're going to do the other side. I just have to make sure my bottoms are on the bottom. The bottom of my covers match on both sides. So that green is at the bottom. Sometimes I have no control over how much comes out of that thing. Just making sure I have good coverage. And right up to the edge. Because that didn't seem quite good enough on the last one. Now I have to take this and put this one on. And I stand up here, you probably can't tell, and want to make sure it's nice and lined up. Then I'm going to flip it over, open it, and push down so that we make sure everything is stuck. And that is basically it. So I put it under some weight and let it dry, and now that's my one of my old ones. I have like 5 or 6 of those. I'm just going to take everything out of there and transfer it into my new ephemera holder. Those are my homemade ones, homemade bits. And I'll probably still keep my old ephemera folder. I have some stuff that like I've run out of room anyway, so I still have to have somewhere to keep it. See, here's my little pockets. You'll see that top pocket is just too small. See, too small, too short. Has to have something really short. There it is. And I have this old belt. It's just like a fabric belt I've kept for years and years and years. And decided to use it to hold this together until I come up with some other idea. But here you go. You flip it open like this. You can also accordion it out and see everything at once. You just keep flipping and then turn it over and keep going. And get more and more and more. Anyways, what do you think? If you like it, make sure you check out Le Cafe Craft. I'll link her down below because it was her idea, not mine. But I love it. I think it's a great way to keep my stuff all in one place. And I hope you liked it. If you liked this video, give it a thumbs up. Leave me a comment. Here's a couple of pictures for you. Thank you all for watching. Have an awesome day.